820 Lake Road. So just with respect to the idea of moving ahead and scheduling an October public hearing for this matter, I think that may be just a teeny bit premature. I think there still are open questions that have not been addressed yet by Verizon. I don't think the town has had a chance to investigate some of these issues, and I don't know how long the town, after the open hearings will deliberate these issues, but I just want to throw these out just to make sure that they're out there, people are aware of these issues. One big issue, are local governments allowed to ignore or supersede New York State laws? I don't think so. I think the answer is no. Hypothetically, if the state law prohibited placement of a cell tower within 2,000 feet of a scenic byway, could the local government choose to approve a cell tower that was 500 feet away from the scenic byway? I think the answer is probably no. So we're talking about the scenic legislation, the scenic byway legislation New York State passed. I don't think that's been investigated a whole lot, but New York State has put that out there. They've stated that the scenic byways, of which Lake Road is a designated scenic byway, it's an important thing. And one of the primary reasons why it was designated as such is because of the scenic attributes of that road. Having a cell tower less than a quarter mile from the road, I think has a significant impact on that. And I think that going to that point, I think that Verizon, our friends at Blue Sky Towers and Verizon, have not adequately discussed the options that are out there. They talked about one property, or two properties on Whiting Road owned by the same owner. They said, well, we sent them a letter. Didn't hear back, so we just completely dropped that location as a possibility. Look at the owners of that location. They have what I would call maybe foreign-sounding names. I don't know what their comprehension of English is, but I don't think Verizon really did, with respect to that location, appropriate due diligence in exploring that as an option. Looking at the Pellett Road site, the Kiwanis Park site, they discussed that, yes, that looked like a really viable option, but then they kind of just perfunctorily said, no, we said it's too far away, so we dropped it. Now the engineers are saying it's more than a mile south of that of the Lake Road site. But again, I went past there tonight, double checked my numbers, and did an odometer reading, and I took my watch and timed it in 30 miles an hour. 60 seconds it took me, less than 60 seconds to go between the two locations. And by my reckoning, that's less than half a mile. So among other things, I think that is a very viable site. I think Verizon said, yeah, that's a viable site. And it's less than half a mile away, despite their papers stating otherwise. I think they just very summarily rejected that site. I think, and I understand it. I think Verizon and the attorneys for Verizon latched onto this site on Lake Road. They say, hey, this is what's easiest for us. This is what's best for us. Golly, we got somebody ready to take our rent money, and it's going to be easy access for us to build this thing. And I understand that. I mean, Verizon wants what's easiest for Verizon. I fully understand that. But the responsibility of the town board, I think, is to make sure that Verizon is taking into perspective, or that the town board is taking into perspective, the interests of everyone in the community, apart from the interest of Verizon in building a cell tower. So I don't think there's really been proper due diligence as far as alternate site selection by Verizon. And I think rushing ahead to an October hearing might be a little bit premature. That's just my thought. Another second point, the impact of, besides the scenic byway issue, putting in a tower on Lake Road. I looked at the valuation of the properties just on the north side of Lake Road, and we're looking at almost $10 million, just between Pellett and not even over to Whiting. $10 million of value. If you look at the literature about the impact of cell towers, an industrial tower, whether it be a crane or a oil derrick or a big cell tower, I think there's really not a lot of disputing that there's an impairment of value of surrounding properties. The question might be, is it 15%, is it 5%, what's the exact number? I don't know for sure, but some of the literature I've seen out there suggests anywhere from 5 to 10% comparative value. You know, if you're taking 10% of $10 million, that's $1 million hit to local property owners. Maybe it's only $750,000. I don't know, but I don't think that aspect has really been addressed. And again, I think the need for Verizon to demonstrate that they've really adequately pursued alternate locations for this tower. And I think there are certainly going to be a lot of other decent prospective sites. Maybe not the exact site that Verizon wants, maybe not the site that's the absolute easiest and cheapest for them. But again, I think they need to demonstrate that they've exhausted other possibilities a little more than the very cursory manner in which they did in their paper. So I would ask, to that end, I would ask the town board to consider perhaps even 30 days delaying this open hearing, the public hearing on this issue, asking Verizon to demonstrate exactly why is that Kiwanis site, you said it's over a mile away. No, it's not. It's less than half a mile away from your proposed Lake Road site. You know, why is that not viable? Have you reached out to those people on Whiting Road, just other than sending a letter and saying, hey, you didn't respond? Are there other sites out there that could potentially be viable? I don't know. I think there could be. But I don't think Verizon has demonstrated that they've really pursued all the other options other than putting it right on Lake Road. If you're in New York City and you've got a waste management company who wants to put a landfill, sure, let's put it right on Midtown Manhattan, Central Park, right? That's easiest for the waste hauler. Great spot, great accessible location. Well, I mean, folks in New York City don't do that because they realize that would be stupid to put a ugly eyesore right in the middle of a prime real estate area. So that's why the landfill is over on Staten Island, kind of way out of the way. Still workable for getting rid of trash in New York City, but you're not putting a landfill in the middle of the prime real estate in New York City. And I'm asking that we should think about other options other than putting this industrial tower right on a scenic byway on one of the prime pieces of real estate in the town of Webster. So to that end, again, I would ask consideration, maybe a little discussion amongst yourselves. Hey, can we put this off for 30 days to ask Verizon to demonstrate, are there really no other options other than this? Thank you.
And I just hit the end of the timer. And Andy, because I'm sensitive to this, and I've been working with you and some of the other people on this, 8 minutes and 12 seconds, everybody knows I'm a numbers guy, 5 minutes for that. I felt as though you needed to get that extra 3 minutes. But because we are on live stream and there's people in the room, for your older people, Paul Harvey rested the story. And I think we have to be measured on this, okay?
All right.
Because if people in the room or on TV watching this are like, wow, this is, you know, Andy makes a lot of great points. Well, I want to make sure everybody understands, and I am a numbers guy. On July 15th, this town board did a procedural meeting to pass this cell tower on to the planning board for their vetting process. July 15th was 2 months ago, almost to the day, all right? Andy and several people from the neighborhood came in and voiced their, it turned into a pseudo-public hearing that night, and we allowed everybody to get up. Since then, I know Councilman Cahill has been absolutely tenacious on this from a vetting and standpoint of the town board over the last 2 months. Andy and some of the other people I have communicated with, and me as the town supervisor went out to all the houses within a half a mile of this proposed site. There were 40 houses. I went door to door and knocked on all of them, okay? I didn't knock on the doors that people already had come in here on July 15th because I knew that they were against the project. I needed to hear the totality of everybody that lived down there. The planning board, our engineering department, community development has been gathering all the due diligence documents on this proposed project through the scenic byway with the state, through the county, through all the government agencies that have to opine on this, of which the file is now about this thick. I can assure you the town board and the town government is doing their due diligence. Now, I also sent an email out to Andy and to all the people that came in here on July 15th on Friday, September 3rd, that spelled out exactly the time frame that we are setting up for this, including tonight. We are going to do the votes on setting a public hearing. October 7th would be the public hearing, and October 21st would be when we would vote on whether we are having this cell tower. October 21st, when we go to vote on that, I think my math is correct, is 5 weeks from now. So from the first time it was heard on July 15th until October 21st, I think, Charlie, is going to end up being, is that 3+ months? Now, I'm relatively new to this, Counselor. Time-wise, are we basically doing our due diligence and stretching it out to make sure we get in all the information?
Okay, as far as, just to, as counsel to the board, I'll just advise you, under sections 95-12 of the Webster Town Code, it sets forth the standards that the town board is to consider in granting or not granting a special use permit to a cell tower. So it's right in there, all you have to do is look at that and say, all you have to do with it, it's fairly extensive and very detailed. 12-12. It's incumbent, obviously, on the applicant to satisfy everything that's in there as well.
Right.
So I think the burden is on them, and the town board can do what it needs to do. So the due diligence in terms of time, I think that's more than enough time, because it's already gone through one process, the planning board process, which is fairly extensive. But it will go through another rather rigorous procedure again on the 7th.
And thanks, Charlie, because 2 of the resolutions tonight we're voting on, I just want to make sure, and I really appreciate, Andy, you getting up there, okay? But I think it's important for anybody in this room and anybody watching to know, I can speak for this town board, we do not mail it in. We are going to do the due diligence. We are going to overturn every stone. We are going to cross every T and dot every I, and I can assure you, when we get here on October 21st for the vote, the 5-member town board will be thoroughly briefed with all the documentation, all the visits to houses, all that you've done, John, all the things that are coming in from Verizon, all of that due diligence is going to be done. And I come from a background where I had to do a lot of due diligence. I'm pretty proud of the way this process is going. So, thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
These 2 public hearings are both attached to the proposed cell tower. But because the town board really has to make 2, I don't want to call them mutually exclusive decisions, Charlie, but one is because,
Assuming, well, I think the second one is, in the event that the permit is granted, they are seeking a tower 25 feet taller than our code requires, or,
Right.
sorry, permits. So that a variance would have to be granted.
and that is a variance that doesn't go through the zoning board of appeals. It has
Correct.
to be
It's
heard
by
the town
our
board.
town code. This is one of the rare instances where the town board actually
Right.
hears. And the same types of standards would apply,
Right.
but the town board is the one making the decision.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it shows the, what do I want to say, the wisdom of who wrote laws and codes is that this is serious enough of a situation that the buck stops here at the town board. It doesn't, usually variances go through the zoning board of appeals. Nothing against the zoning board of appeals. The town board is higher on the org chart than the zoning board of appeals. With that, and I hope that wasn't TMI for everybody, but I'm making a motion to set a public hearing for a height variance for the proposed 125-foot tall communication tower at 833 Lake Road at or about 7:45 or immediately after the end of the public hearing on the special permit on Thursday, October 7th in the town board meeting room, to be published in the Webster Herald's Wednesday, September 22nd edition. That's my motion.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye?
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Councilwoman Capaldi?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Now, before we move on, because, like I said, I appreciate the sensitivity of the issue. I'd like to think I've appreciated it since it first hit us on July 15th. Charlie, there has been precedent, I think, in town that sometimes after a public hearing that same night that the town board has voted on the issue.
Yes, you can vote on it that night, or you can vote on it another night.
The town board, I think, was all in agreement that based on the issue and the due diligence that is needed on it, we are not going to be voting on that on October 7th. We will be voting on that on October 21st to give an additional 2 weeks for the board to read up on all the documentation that is being supplied by the appropriate parties that need to show that.